Gamers, gals, non-binary pals, welcome to the greatest stream of all time. On today's Smarter with Stevie, we're going to be talking about YCS Pasadena. We talk about those event breakdowns, those event takeaways, and everything you need to know going into the format moving forward. Because, I'm gonna be real, this format kind of sucks. So, let's talk about deck expectations. Tier Limit with the new yugioh support is clearly expected to be the best deck in the room. Obviously, it is just way too good. You mill a billion cards, and Tier Limit and boards are way more consistent and powerful. Additionally, Sprite is looking to get pretty far outclassed compared to the insanity that Tier Limit can set up. Blunder and Exorcister, they're probably still in the wings as being anti-meta decks, and yugioh adjacent decks that can also take advantage of the new support, such as Naturia, Branded Despia, Bestial, and Thunder Dragon, they're being experimented with. Now let's look at some of the tech expectations that people are playing. The yugioh support is something that we'll see lots of play in anything graveyard centric, both as setup tools in the mill 5s and 10s, and interruption in regards to the Transmigration Prophecy, such as the Midoriya and the yugiohs, I think. I don't know what they're called. Additionally, anti-graveyard tech such as Dimensional Shifter, the Bestials, and especially Abyss Dweller. These sort of cards are going to go absolutely hard and crazy, especially when Tier Limit is expected to be the most represented and most powerful deck in the room. Because Konami is a really good company, and I would never betray them under any circumstance. People are playing a lot more time cards, and time cards are almost an absolute necessity, unless your name is like Hani Jawari and you're just goated with the sauce. But people are playing stuff like Skull-Marked Ladybug, Red Resonator, Volcanic Scattershot because you can send it off Sprint, and Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, which is basically maxi this format. I wish I was joking. When we look at the deck breakdowns, things got a little sussy. This was top 32. We had yugioh Tier Limit take up 26, which is a lot. This is 81%. 3 Sprite, 1 Pure, and 2 Bestial, and 3 Blunder players. Let's look at the first place list. When you look at these lists, they're pretty solid. They're playing Bestials in order to have a better matchup versus the Tier Limits. They can enable a rank 6 line to go into like Beatrice, which is really awesome. You're just maxing out on all the names except yugioh, because yugioh kind of fucking sucks. Yeah, I don't know what to really say. Like, Hani's just playing Tier Limit cards. Funny thing is, Hani won the event and he didn't play a single time card. Based Hani. Let's look at third place. More Bestial stuff, just maxing out on abilities to stop Tier Limit whenever they can, playing cards like Skullmeister and Imperm that are extremely targeted towards the yugioh Tier Limit matchup, Dimension Shifter, Droll and Lockbird, just all these sort of cards, just doing their best to stop them cold in their tracks. And of course, Red Resonator, because people are really cool. And we have Blunder, just a pretty standard build, playing the Evil Twin Ultimate Slayer stuff, playing Trap Trick, playing Floodgates. Oh boy, I sure hope that there isn't a Yugi tuber out there who is trying to convince people that Blunder is a control deck with double M-Pen, and that Barrier Statue isn't the only reason why people win games, you know? What about the format really changed? So first up is Tier Limit. Literally, it's a tier 0 deck. By every definition, it is a tier 0 deck in representation and power, had an 80% top cut representation, and it won the whole event. It has 0 bad matchups. Additionally, Floodgates are at an all-time high. Turns out, the best decks are the ones playing the Floodgates. Rogue decks have to kind of rely on making Abyss Dweller, Shifter, and the Bestials in order to even survive versus Tier Limit. Tier Limit is also just playing, you know, Dweller, just because it's so powerful, this format, and it's got a great matchup in the mirror. Other decks, they can try to do it, but Tier Limit also has ways of working around stuff like Dimensional Shifter, Necro Valley, all that sort of garbage. Because Bagushka is a really good card versus decks that make Shifter. And finally, the yugioh support. It provides Tier with like additional removal and recycling tools, and it makes Tier Limit able to go first and second due to the in-engine hand traps such as Havness, Held of Orange Light, technically. Just so impactful. It's absolutely insane. Additional deck successes. Blunder is surviving. I mean, it's just an anti-meta deck. It's an anti-meta deck that relies on winning the dice roll and opening Shifter. That's just the reality of it. Sprite is barely hanging on. Shoutouts to the opponent, also known as Crystal Blanc's opponent in round 11, which is Jesse, my homie, plays 38th. Big sad. I can compete with Tier thanks to stuff like Smashers, being able to side Dimension Shifter, playing a lot of non-engine stuff like the Kashtala, Fenrir, or the Bestials. That sort of stuff stuff is okay, but it's definitely a very uphill battle. You have to reliably see like 3 or even 4 of your going second cards or anti-tier limit cards, and then you have to open like your Sprite normal summon and your extender. It's absolutely disgusting. So why did other Ishizu piles flop? Let's take a look at the pros and cons. We had stuff like Naturia, we had Branded Bestial, we had Thunder Dragon. Why did these decks do so bad? Let's look at the pros. They have more interesting end boards. When we look at stuff like Naturia, it's ending us on like Sunflower Vein plus Stink Bug, which is, you know, interesting. Dragon's ending on Spheres. Yeah, the cons is basically that other decks that are trying to play the Ishizu piles are just inherently worse than just tier limit. They're doing the same thing that tier limit Ishizu does, but they lose to way more stuff. They're ending on far weaker boards or far more interruptible boards, and they also have a much worse matchup versus the Midoriya stuff compared to the tier limits, where tier limits could still technically maybe end on 1 or 2 bodies. These decks just pass on vanillas. Like, that's just the reality. So let's talk about the funny techs. This isn't everything, but this is just a nice little list of some of the really powerful stuff that we saw at the event. Triple Tactics Talents is really good versus tier limit because it's basically always live because your opponent's going to be playing on your turn, and because tier is so incredibly common, Tactics is a really good pickup right now. I would personally play the heck out of this card. Additionally, Dark Hole is seeing play again. It's not good, but it's a great board breaker versus stuff like Sprite and Rogue matchups. And additionally, if you really need to, it can trigger your own tier limits because it destroys your own monsters. And third, hand traps are everywhere in the form of Imperm, Havness, but hand traps are primarily being played to support Ishizu decks or to counter them. Think of stuff like Herald of the Orange Light being just a great card in Ishizu tier, and the Bestials, Ghost Bell, Ghost Mourner just being cards to counter tier limit. And let's talk about some of the flops. Let's look at Kashria Fenrir. This card saw, I think, 1 side deck slot, maybe 2. Unfortunately, it just doesn't play into the tier limit board that great. And it does have nombos with the Bestials, because if you open a Bestial and you Bestial your opponent and you draw Fenrir at the top, guess what? That Fenrir is a dead card. Second up, Mystic Mind is not that amazing. It's not an amazing card right now. Unfortunately, too many decks either have in-engine outs such as Smashers or Heartbeat, or have mains or side engines out. So I think Eradicator, Virus, then Cosmic Cyclone, Evenly Matched, etc, etc. Deco Main King was a card that people tried to pull off. I think one list in top 32 was playing it. But guess what? People made Dweller before milling. And to make matters even worse, even if they did hit the Neko Main King before you even made Dweller in the first place, tier limit could still kind of play on their end phase, which is like the most ridiculous part. Like, they would just like hard pivot into like Draco's Dopelia plus like, and like Rhino Heart. And that would honestly be like good enough because they would have the Midoriya and stuff. You get the idea. And Ausa, the Earth Charmer and Movable, thought to be pretty good in this format because you could revive stuff like Kashria Fenrir, you could revive the Agito, Ishizu stuff. Unfortunately, it turns out that Ausa was not amazing this format specifically, mainly because A, no one's playing Fenrir, and B, reviving the Agito stuff, the Ishizu stuff, is just not that impactful. And let's talk about some goofy cards. One build was playing Cyberstein. I mean, it's instant fusion, I guess. Additionally, people were actually playing Mass Change 2. You'll see in a Sprite list and a tier limit list, and you just hopefully drew into it in tier or Sprite, and you could make Dark Law, which is a one-sided Macrocosmos. Third was the Utopia double package. That's right, it's time to OTK with Sky Striker all over again. Even if you do mill it off of your Ishizu stuff, your tier limit stuff, whatever, you could just return the double or nothing. You could just return it to your deck if it's milled or discarded or whatever. It's never dead, fortunately, and you have ways of getting it back into your deck. And finally, you have Artifact Sanctum. Again, artifacts just absolutely goofy. We have Lancia and Scythe being played as one in the side deck as just like auto win cards. God, like, do I even have to say anything? Like if people are siding this card, if people are playing Artifact Sanctum and Scythe and fucking Lancia, then something's fucking wrong with this format. Something is fucking terribly wrong. So let's talk about the event takeaways. So first up, Ishizu tier limit. It's tier 0. Undeniably overpowered. Has amazing matchups and everything. Disruption, setup, extension, hand traps, everything. It's fucking insane mode. Next up, Sprite. It's playable. It's not that good. You kind of gotta hope that you open 3 going second cards and a blue and normal. Otherwise, honestly, just go next. Floodgate decks. Blunder is kind of just like a barrier statue control with additional goofy stuff to hopefully high roll into wins. If you're going to be playing a deck that's not a Shizu tier or a Sprite this format, unfortunately, you kind of have to play a deck that floodgates people. That is just the reality of this format. Next up, time card. Get used to getting burned for 1,000 and then 500 and 1,000, or getting ghost dogwooded, or god fucking damn, this format is so goofy. Additionally, anti-graveyard tech. You need bestial cards, unfortunately. You need DD Crows, you need Ghost Mourners, you need Abyss Dweller. That is just the reality of the game right now. You have to play these cards, or you will never be able to beat Ishizu Trilobit. And I mean that 100%. And the format as a whole, honestly, pretty whack. Not a huge fan. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Twitch.tv/Stevie Blunder if you want to catch these things live. Twitter.com/Stevie Blunder __. Now verified because Elon Musk took my money. And if you want to hire me, 100 Thieves, StevieBlunder.com. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Big subscribe.